Right everyone, WeaponCollector here. Right, I was going to do my shooting competition today. I was going to use one of my CO2 guns, but at least 3 of them, the seals are no good at the minute, so I can't use them. So I thought I would go on to this one, and I remembered how much I hate the open sights on this. So what I'm going to do today is a mod on this that should hopefully let me put a better iron sight on it. So these are the iron sights at the minute, and they don't adjust a lot. The screws are all starting to go funny, and it's just not a good sight basically. So what I was thinking of doing is taking a small section of weaver rail, mounting this just there, and then I can put different sights on. And one of the sights I've got is this Crossbow Sight, which should fit on there perfectly and work well. I'm not going to have any up and down elevation, but it should be about right, and I should be able to compensate for the height anyway. And I'll tell you one thing that's a bit of a funny coincidence and good. See those holes? I don't know if you'll be able to see this, might be too dark. They line up perfectly with those screws. So I may just need to take those screws out, either tidy them up or replace them completely, cut down the weaver rail slightly and tidy it up. This is the bit I've already used on something else, and that should just screw straight on. And then afterwards I'll give it a test. Something else I'm doing with this gun, because it's never very accurate, but I did think maybe it's just the seal. So what I've done, I've given the seal a good soaking in oil, because these have old leather seals, and that should bring the seal out a bit and may seal up the barrel better, making it more accurate, because there's no real reason this shouldn't be accurate. The barrel doesn't move, seems to be in the same position every time, so I've always just assumed it was the seal. So what I'll do now, I'll probably, if it's worth it, I'll show myself putting this on, but if it's just literally a case of just taking it out and screwing that on, there's probably not a lot of bothering. But if you look there, I reckon that'll fit straight on. So I'll have to decide out which way I want it on. May have it that way and going right to the back, but I'll see. So yeah, if it goes on straightforward, I'll probably just come back and I'll have it on there and I'll show you, and then we'll do a bit of shooting and see what it shoots like. Right, so there it is, went on easily. There's the 2 screw holes. Let's use the existing screws. I did need a couple of washers in there to bring the screws up slightly, because they was touching the spring, so just beware of that. All I used was a couple of those spring washers, and now I should be able to just slide that straight on, and then that just slides on the back there. Needs a bit of oil on at the minute, it's a bit tough to slide on, but that'll slide right on, and we'll get shooting and I'll test it. So next bit of footage, we'll see what it's like. Right, so I did a test with the open sights and it didn't really work. This hasn't got enough adjustment, there's no adjustment up and down either, so that didn't really work. So I've put on a red dot sight, and you'll see some tests of that in a minute. I'll tell you what, I'll show you those now. So yeah, you saw the red dot sight test then. That was a decent grouping. There was a grouping once I'd finally got it to about 1 inch. And I've never ever shot this gun that good from that. So putting a bit of oil on that seal and putting a good sight on. This is the sight if you wonder, the 3 little dots. I don't know if it'll focus on the actual dots. Can't hold it still enough. But yeah, that works perfectly. If a little bit big, I may get a smaller one, but that's the only one I've got at the minute that will fit a weaver rail. But I would highly recommend doing this. If you've got one of these old style ones like mine that doesn't have a rail, I'll put a link to this rail so you can buy the exact same one and cut it down. The holes will be exactly the same. I like to use a couple of tiny little spring washers, but they work perfectly. That's held in place perfectly. This fits on great, and it turns this gun into a crappy thing that you can't have hit nothing with to something that is actually getting a 1 inch grouping now with a decent sight. So it's not really the gun, I just think it's these crappy old sights that come with it. I could never get on with these personally. Yeah, saw the grouping, especially when I did some bench rest shooting with the pistol. I could get a 1 inch grouping then. Yeah, there it is. Highly recommend doing it. Link below to the rail if you want to get that. And if you ever want to support this channel, I've got a Patreon account which helps buy things like these rails and pellets and that, so I can do these videos. So if you ever wanted to contribute, the Patreon's there, and you can join from $1 a month. Or there's a GearBest and Amazon.com links and Amazon.co.uk links. If you shop at those places, I get a percentage of what you spend at no cost to you. Right? Yeah, so there it is. That is a highly recommended mod for these old style S2 pistols, because I think the new ones have a rail on anyway. Alright? See you later. Before you leave, if you ever wanted to support this channel, you can now via Patreon, or by shopping at Amazon.com and GearBest. There's more info below if you need that. Remember, if you want to get full notifications for this channel, click the bell, and I'll see you later. Cheers.